So without that, once we get this slide out of the way, that's only 3. We only got 3 left. So what we're talking about is ZFS boot environments because I signed up and I started playing around with it, especially on this little box here, which I actually resurrected. It's another older machine from 2015 or so, but I resurrected it. I started actually using ZFS. Started warming up to it all, and yeah, boot environments are a new feature in FreeBSD 12. Kind of came over from Solaris and Moss and such. And thought it was kind of cool. I'm still relative new to ZFS, so I guess that makes my presentation a little bit better because I'm not fanboying at all compared to some people. So yeah, what's ZFS boot environments? Now, if you look at, for most people who don't know Unix-like systems, if you look at the subtitle, that might explain it. Yeah. When Windows Me first came out with the first iteration of system restore, it really did restore malware.
Well, Windows was the malware, but
yeah, I was saying Windows was the malware.
Yeah, let's not split hairs here.
No, I'm only splitting hairs because Keith is here. That's why. But yeah, so
he doesn't have any though.
Yeah, he does. Anyway, yeah, you use ZFS. It's really just building upon what ZFS already has. Especially with its built-in snapshot and cloning features. It's really just building on those two to actually, so if you use this as your root file system, you can actually use the snapshot and clone facilities to effectively make new root file systems that you can boot from, what you can pick and boot from later. So you start off with just a regular data set, which just happens to be mounted as your root file system. And then what actually happens when you create a new boot environment is that it creates a snapshot of that data set, and then almost at the same time will clone that snapshot because snapshots are read-only. So and clones are just data sets created from those read-only snapshots that you can then mount, read-write, and you can boot from, mount them wherever, things like that. And there's specific pool layout that boot environments that they kind of have to put boot environments, set them up as, which is really just so you've got your pool, which is pool, and then you do it under capital root, all caps. And then all your boot environments are just sub data sets of that root data set, which you have to set as not mountable. So another ZFS feature, well, a series of ZFS features that you can set individual data sets with attributes such that you can't mount them, but any child data sets you can inherit properties from. The others are for certain data sets you can prevent anything within that data set from being executed, and there's like a few others. There's not a ZFS talk, of course, but that's just pertaining to just boot environments, how you can manipulate them there. So examples, those are just some examples of boot environments there. That you can, it doesn't really matter what you call the pool, which is why we want to accentuate the fact that Keith really cannot carve. And then we just put some child data sets of root, which are boot environments. It also doesn't matter what you call them either, just as long as you remember them.
Isn't Brexit malware?
I wanted to put Scott exit or whatever it should be called if it came to be.
So if these are all clones of that original root, that might be a read-write, but any changes you make when you want to make
they're not though. That's the thing. So how most people, or how I do it, at least on this machine, on this little box here, is that you have your initial data set, which you kind of like do your initial, stuff in. And then when you want to update your system, you create the new boot environment, which will then, it will then snapshot the initial one right when you create it, and then it'll also create a clone from that snapshot. And then you do your update, you boot into the new boot environment, and then if you want to update from there, it will snapshot the new one, and then kind of keep going that way.
So you're going to snapshot your new environment, not your original data set.
Right, yeah.
But then, unless something's changed, in order to have these clones lying around, you still have to have the original snapshot they came from lying around. So does that mean if these are all like chained in one after the other, can you ever delete any of them?
Yeah, yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
That was my question. These are copy on write,
Yeah.
but they're independent.
Yeah.
But ZFS, at least historically, those clones, like in ButterFS, a clone you can delete
Yeah.
the original, but
Yeah.
in ZFS you can't delete the
Yes,
original.
you can. Yes, you can because
Well, you delete the snapshot and then it reconciles everything,
yeah.
and then you
Is
just
that
have
like a
one data
change?
set.
Because historically, ZFS
Well,
clones
when
you
I,
couldn't delete the snapshot.
Well, I'll actually show you later how it actually shows up in ZFS list because it is a little bit different than how it used to be.
Maybe it's a new feature and now it's possible.
It's a little bit it's a little bit different than what you actually described. Because it actually because the initial actually goes onto the new boot environment when you boot into it. So then the delta starts from there, and then it goes back to the older one. I'll show you how it works.
So, Charlie, can you just the purpose of doing this is so that if something happens to your boot, when you say boot environment, is that like the boot partition? Like what's?
No, your entire
Your
it's
root
really
file
your entire root file system. It just so happens that the root file system contains /boot in it.
Okay, so
But it's really about preserving that root file system.
Okay.
Just
Gotcha.
like pretty much all the stuff that you need to actually
Run
boot
the
a system up.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's the same in Linux, but in Solaris, you can have multiple
Yeah.
drives that are part of your boot environment, like var or
Yeah.
whatever.
You
and
could
you
do that, yeah.
snapshot
Mhm.
the whole environment,
Right.
and then you go from there, and each one of the drives is snapshotted.
Yeah, like,
But it could be a single one as well, right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So on this machine, which I'll fire up, this has a single drive, Z or Z pool. Yeah, it's a single drive Z pool, and it works great. And so of course, we have to go into the benefits of it because we're talking about it, and penguins are penguins, so have at it. So it's kind of like how Git does source code management. If you because it's very unlike Subversion, which is file based. I have to plug Subversion because Keith's here as well.
Don't worry about me. I'll be all right.
No, you won't. No, you won't. But the reason why I say how Git specifically does source code management is because how Linux designed it was really coming at it from a file system mindset. And so Git was, and so if you actually do, operations in Git, there are certain things that don't exist. There are certain features that only exist in Git, but there are also certain things that exist throughout the different source code management systems that may be faster in Git or very much slower in Git. But specifically the ones that are slower in Git are the ones that deal with single files, single files kind of moving from place to place and things like that. But anyway, so how Git does source code management, because what Git really does is actually just track effectively snapshots between different states in a tree. But in this case, we're actually talking about a file system. So, but for a running system.
With this Git analogy, can you rebase?
Yes. In fact, that's actually that was actually the thing that I very poorly articulated, is that when you actually boot into your new environment, you have actually rebased. You have actually rebased yourself. So of course you're tracking every system update in separate boot environments there. When you actually do your system update, you have to make sure that you direct all your update operations to that to that separate boot environment that you just created, which you can actually mount, which you can actually mount for that purpose. Just so that it doesn't, like it doesn't like do anything to your currently running environment. You can test it. You can test it, separately. Either in a jail or a VM or whatever. You can actually move the boot environments to other machines because of ZFS. Because again, we're building on ZFS. ZFS has send and receive, so you can just do your standard ZFS, commands there, or ZPool commands. And there have actually been people who have written Ansible playbooks on this. So it's actually very much automatable, based on the fact that people have written. In fact, I think there's one that you can actually download and it'll actually work. I haven't looked at it yet. Ansible and all the automation stuff, that's very much beyond the scope of this talk, so we're not going to go there, but just have to put the point out there for those watching on video, because they might be interested. I don't know. Let's see. So yeah, we're on the fourth or third slide, depending on whether you want to include the title slide or not. So we're just going to go into live demo because I actually do need to update this box with a new boot environment, actually, and much of the stuff is actually better explained in a live demo. So there you have it. If you know where this screen cap came from, it can't fail worse than this.
I'm assuming that's
4K
Bill
comment?
Gates on the left.
Yeah, isn't that Bill Gates on the left? And he's talking about Windows 98.
Yep, that's the Windows 98 one.
No one will ever need more than 64K storage space.
Look,
Was that when he was demoing the
48
USB or
megabytes.
what?
the plug-and-play printer and a blue screen.
Ah.
Can't
yes.
feel worse than
Oh,
that.
yes.
Nah.
Who lost their job after that one?
No, he still works there. He still works there, and he's like actually one of their executives now. That guy
Well,
still
I'm not
works there.
surprised.
Wow.
It's Microsoft, not Apple.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
Yeah, but that guy was also probably not the guy who actually did the work.
Yeah.
The guy at the bottom of the rung, you got.
Somebody got fired,
Somebody's neck got
right?
wrong.
Somebody, yeah,
The guy
somebody's
who
neck
said
got
this
wrong.
will take 6
There's a
months,
dead
and then
chicken
we
in
have
there
2
someplace.
weeks. I'm going to demo it on CNN, and we're going to fire you if it doesn't work.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it
If
live.
Bill was here. Okay, so meanwhile, actually, we do need to do a live. Do we
All right, it's done. but it's
how
not
do
gonna
we
work.
switch this thing to HDMI?
I just love the way
It
they
didn't
green.
I got the little controller here. I'll take care of it for you. How does that sound?
I'm gonna boot this thing up real quick once we see that the. Okay. What?
It probably won't take it.
What do you want it
because
on?
there's no video.
HDMI or?
Well,
Is your other
whatever
HDMI?
this thing is, I mean, it was on this thing. Whatever this was on. Okay. Okay, let's see.
Try
I
that.
just don't want to.
Just.
No,
look
the
at it,
problem is
and we'll go from there.
the problem is I want to get the actual boot screen up. the
Okay.
boot loader.
Well, what?
Well, you might have to reboot because sometimes these things will
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
unless
Right.
the system's up.
Right.
Okay. So. All right, it's up. Might have to.
I tell you what we can do. Let's see if we can find it, and then we'll go from there.
Number one, the pine.
There you go.
You know, the lovely world of live demos.
Where? Your knuck's not up yet. This is like-
No, it's up. It's up. In fact, now it's boot. It's loading the.
Can you try to unplug the HDMI for me, please?
All right, I'll plug it.
Oh, wait, only
No,
signal status
from the
is
laptop.
No. Let's see. Wrong laptop.
Okay, let's try that.
He hasn't been disconnected yet.
All right.
Okay.
There we go.
Hey, okay, try to reboot it now,
There we go.
if you don't mind.
Put this down.
Okay,
We need to use this keyboard.
okay.
Okay. I'm gonna actually reboot this so we can get a.
I'm fine. We're all fine here. How are you? Large leak, very dangerous.
Here, we have to zoom in, right? Keith?
Clearly you don't use System D for your service management.
No, he does not.
Trying to start a holy war?
It's not just say it would have booted in half the time. For as much as people brag about how fast it boots up, I found actually the speed it shuts down is actually the more amazing thing.
Yeah. Okay. So once the loader actually comes up. There we go. Okay, so this is your standard FreeBSD loader, which has actually been ported to a UMOS. So Solaris when before open source, well actually before Oracle took it over, Solaris was the thing, and then there was Open Solaris. That all to this back then and still to this day uses Grub as a loader. When UMOS forked from Open Solaris because of Oracle, the project decided that they were going to adopt FreeBSD's bootloader, and so if you actually boot up UMOS, it'll actually look kind of like this, but of course it won't say FreeBSD. It won't show you the daemon head there at all. But the one thing that's a little bit different with this setup, because I do have the boot environments here. So if you only have if you don't have boot environments at all, but it doesn't matter what file system your root is on, you won't have the bottom option, which is number 7, the boot environments one, which I'll actually show you here. So I guess it only shows you the last two that were active. Well, actually, okay, so here we go. So there's active, and then there's more. I think you feel like. Well, whatever. So wait, it'll show you like boot environments that you can pick to boot, but generally speaking, you want to activate your boot environments before you reboot. So what we'll do, we'll just boot into this one that I've got here, and we'll just watch it boot up for a bit. So it knows that this data set is a root file system, so it automatically mounts without any sort of FS tab. So for ZFS on root, you don't use an FS tab, although you can if you want. But generally speaking, you don't.
I mean, it sounds like the main feature is you have clones, some kind of bootloader integration, and I assume probably some kind of package manager integration or something for creating the new environment.
No package manager integration either, because
you have to manually tell it, I want a new boot environment.
So in the base system has boot environment library and the boot environment, control program.
But I mean, you gotta tell it to create a new one, right? You have like 7 to choose from. If you wanted 8, you need to tell it.
Well, yeah, something like that.
Otherwise, just overwrite your last one, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we're good now. I'll organize myself so I don't do root again. Okay, so
But then you'll sudo-s to root.
I mean, look, if I log in as root, when I go back into the system log, it'll say root login in all caps. Whereas if I do this, it doesn't. So
That makes it more secure.
Yeah.
anyway, so I'll clear this so we have a clear screen, hopefully. And,
Now you're off camera, and I gotta remove it again. Hit return, come down. Keep going, more, keep going. Keep going, there you go.
Jesus Christ, Keith.
Jesus, Keith.
That's why.
Your video just got demonetized.
That's why I named that. That's why I named that Z boy after you. That's exactly why.
Not my fault you use a 5-point font.
Look. We all now everyone on camera watching on video knows that you can't car, so there's that.
Yeah, that syslog console spam is really useful there.
No, so that's that was really NTPD complained that I'm not connected to the internet. That's all. So anyway, so this is the actual list of boot environments that I've got on this machine. It looks like so there's all of them ever since I've installed FreeBSD on this initially. So you see the default one which I created, which I named as default because it's lame, but that was the initial install of the system, and then subsequent ones I just kind of named as the subversion revisions of the FreeBSD base system repository. So right now, if you look on the
subversion,
what's that?
never mind.
FreeBSD uses subversion. That's what. Anyway, so so what you see under active, so you see all the boot environment names, and then in the active column there's only one that's got anything but a dash on it. So the one that says NR, that's the one that's active. So the one that and I'll actually show the man page here. So there's actually only one command that you actually need to use, or that's even available to do anything in boot environments, besides from building a program that links with the boot environment C library. And I mean those are pretty much the only commands for boot environments which you don't really need any more than that. And it actually got, if you actually look at the list, so, let's see.
I'm in jail.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is FreeBSD after all, so. Anyway. So that's the man page, pretty short and sweet there. I'll clear it again, so I'm gonna have to, how far do I have to keep going, Keith?
Keep on. Yep, that's good.
Okay.
Take a second to focus.
So I'll show you the list, and then if I actually pass in the snapshot flag, so this will actually show you. So you can actually see that the current boot environment, which is clearly not default, that's the one. So it everything rebases on there. You know, when you reboot into it, every even previous snapshot rebases there. So if you look, so clearly you can see that the timestamps are like before I created this one for the snapshots that are listed under the current boot environment there. And that's because everything's rebased. Even though I was in those other environments way before I created this one. And so if I wanted to, I can actually, so if I wanted to, let's say, revert back to, that's 34970, I think there's another one. I think the 348, okay, yeah. So let's say I wanted to roll back to another one. I just have to activate it. I think that was 34896. So 348996 was the one that I booted into prior to installing this update. So I can activate it, and now it says successfully activated boot environment, that one, even though it's older. And if I type the list again, you'll see that there's a little bit of difference. Instead of saying NR for the 0701, now it just says N for the 070, which means, so N just means currently active, currently mounted, and then R means that when I reboot, it will boot into that one, if I don't otherwise select a different one in the loader. But I'll put it back onto the,
Did it just like rebase it when you did that? Because I just noticed the space allocation just changed too.
yeah, it does. So if
So does that,
I did not realize that ZFS could rebase things.
yeah,
so at that point where you activated it,
Yeah.
you're back to that previous snapshot, so any changes are reverted
no, like it only reverts when I reboot.
when you reboot, okay, all right.
So any changes I make here while I'm still booted here live in 070, live in the one that I'm booted in currently.
Not the one you just activated.
Yeah, I'm gonna deactivate this one here. So
Are these on ZFS on Linux at all yet, or is this still?
so BECTL is the FreeBSD specific. So yeah, BECTL is the FreeBSD specific command, and it comes with the libbe, which is the C library. And but this was not the original implementation. The original one is actually portable. The original one's called BADM, and that one's completely written in shell, in Bourne shell. And so that one you can actually download, use it on Linux as long as you have ZFS, because it actually directly calls ZFS commands, obviously through a shell script. But that should work. In fact, that was BADM was the way you did boot environments on FreeBSD before libbe came along.
And that's the Solaris command too,
Which one? The
BEADM.
yeah. Well, that's where it came from. So I'm gonna reactivate the current one. So that was 349070, and then it'll.
Search for BEADM and I can up with Kubernetes at QBAD.
Okay. Well, so now we're back. Now we're back on this thing. I just need a. Before I came here, I actually built a complete world and kernel for the update. So you guys wouldn't have to wait. I just have to remember which revision it was. Let's see. Well, it was okay. 349150. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to create a new boot environment. Okay, so now it's created. We'll take a look. So now we see a new boot environment there, 349150, and of course, the size it's got a size of 0 because we haven't put anything in there. It's literally just a snapshot of what we got for 349070.
How does it decide what order to put them in?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Can you control the sort? Can you say, show me the most recent one?
Pipe to sort.
Yeah, pipe to sort, right?
This is Unix.
Actually, yeah, I guess it'll go by as the revision number at that
We
point.
look at the snapshot view. So it's 8K, but whatever. That's still kind of nothing. But you'll see that it created a snapshot of 349070, like somewhere like on this line here.
I see. So you'll essentially, if you're going to do an update or something, you're essentially going to create a new environment, but you're basically going to reboot into that new environment before you update it, not after. It's probably the.
No, you can.
Because you couldn't actually make it active to apply updates to
Yeah,
it.
yes,
so-
you can. Oh, yeah, you can.
You can?
Which I'm about to show you now. So how you do that is you mount the new boot environment. So it mounts into.
You're not going to mount it into your root, obviously.
I'll show you. So it tells you where it mounts. So BECTL mount, and it actually mounts into a new folder in temp.
And so you're going to change root or jail into it or something.
Don't even need to do that. So I'll go into my source tree and I'm going to install the world, or install the kernel first rather. But we have to specify the destination directory. And then obviously make sure to put an equal sign there.
I was just thinking about the comment on the syntax.
No, so if you do the if you put the equal sign and then try to do the autocomplete, it doesn't work.
So your package management and everything works through a makefile?
Well, this is just the base system. This is just the base system.
And that's all you're putting in your root is your base system?
So, I mean, well, so it's by default, you know, how the installer does it is that it also puts user local in that root environment. But I have that separated out, and a few other people.
I
also
see.
have it
So all your
separated out.
actual packages go into user local of BSD.
However, the package database is in var.
VAR
It's
or
like
VAR
a-
local? Just
So
straight
you
VAR?
gotta, so
No,
if you
straight
don't,
var.
so if you don't put user local in your boot environment, you kind of have like a, if you switch environments, you kind of have your package database in a separate state from your actual user local.
Yeah. Well, if you separate it out, if you don't have it separated out, then it's consistent.
Yeah, of course. Or
But
if you don't put /var in your root environment, I guess. It's
which I'll actually show you the once this is done, once this install kernel is done, which should be done in a couple more seconds, because it's just the kernel. But I'll just show you how the ZFS pool layout is, or the dataset layout is, because there are a lot of can mount no datasets in there. But they do have like a mount point, but they're not mounted because can mount set to no. And then those will have child data sets that are mounted. So give it a few more seconds here.
So these boot environments you're saying has many different data sets mounted inside of it? Is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah. So it's like you're right. Yeah. So the boot environment itself, which is the stuff under capital root, it's really just stuff that, like what's really required. The only thing that's required in the boot environment portion or the boot environment data set is stuff that you need to boot in. So I'll run ZFS list to show you how it looks like. So you see on so tank is actually my Z pool name. And so if you look at all the root stuff, that's all the
Those are your boot environments.
yeah, that's all the boot environments. But then if you look kind of underneath it all, those are the other data sets that so you see how tank Dreer, the mount point's none, but then you've got like all the other stuff that do have mount points and such. And then you've also got the user mount, the user data set, which has a mount point, but it's not mounted. Same goes with var. That one's not mounted either. Those have can mount no in it, but there are child data sets which are mounted. So anything that actually goes into anything that's actually in user or var like directly, those are actually in the boot environment, not under the user or the var data set directly.
So when you're creating a new boot environment, you're not snapshotting var log or var mail.
Nope.
Var mail is persistent across any boot environment,
Yeah,
which makes sense.
Yeah. So it's like so pretty much.
But your package database.
package package database is in the boot environment.
So if you revert your boot environment, you're going to revert your package database, but not user local because that isn't in the boot environment.
Right. Well, that's how I have it set up on the so actually on Keith's
This just doesn't.
So earlier today I was actually trying to get this thing to work on Keith's ClearFog there. The
router?
Yeah. So like it kind of works, but like I have to rebuild the kernel because 32-bit stuff, and you have to mitigate it against 32-bit stuff. That again, that's outside the scope of this, but.
Well, and the advantage of him not doing like Uster Home and Uster Local is that if a week from now we decided he made a big mistake, he can roll back the OS but not those disks.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that makes complete sense to me. Yeah, I was just commenting on the package database not being in sync with the package installation, but that's
Well,
that's,
so
you can, whatever.
So
You don't have to do it
there
that
are
way.
actually a couple couple of exceptions to stuff going in user local for when it comes to packages. So for example, the graphics kernel modules, those even though they are packages or ports, they actually install into boot/modules.
Okay.
But it's like, but that's like one of the rare exceptions.
But you could have stuck the package base in the boot environment, and then you don't have any of that issue.
Yeah.
You know, user local would always be in sync, and then if you revert it, you would revert your packages too.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is really just a general layout of it all. I mean the Purdue stuff that's really for anyone who actually builds their own ports. Purdue is just a port building automation tool there. So, but yeah, so we've installed the kernel. I'm gonna real quick install the world, which will take a little bit longer than the kernel, but not much longer because there's a lot more files and a lot more structure in there.
And it's not as good as Gen 2. Sorry. You know, Gen 2 does have a BSD.
Yeah, but it's like barely maintained though.
Probably right. I don't know.
If this thing didn't have a Celeron in it and like actually had like a Core i something, this would probably be done by now. But this thing has a Celeron. It's going to be a little slow.
This thing's installing binary packages, I assume. It's not actually building from source, is it?
I already built the source, so this is just
Okay, this is just doing a whole bunch of installs.
Yeah.
Just the make install part of it.
Yeah, well, that's not going to get any faster on Gen 2. I mean, that's just going to be the speed of your disk more than anything.
So install. So we did install kernel first. Now we're doing install world. So an install kernel obviously installs the kernel. Install world installs the rest of the base system, which is binaries, libraries, man pages, debug info if you have it, things like that. And of course, because I specified the destination directory, it's going in that destination directory. You know, but it's like, what you have to remember is that like the destination directory has to have that file system hierarchy structure. So because it does like follow that.
Sure. This is a bit like installing Gen 2.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Except there you get to watch the compiler run, not the install.
Well, remember I said I had already run on the compile earlier, so.
Actually, by default now, we actually run it in quiet mode, so you don't actually get the, unless there's an error, you don't get the actual build log output.
Right, yeah. I mean, I have the compiles run on
It's
quiet.
Job 1 of 387 complete, you know, a little rolling status bar with a load average or something.
Little Chromium OS.
I mean, mine just like I'm for free. So FreeBSD's quiet mode. It just says building this object. It just says building object, building this object, which is obviously C or C++ files. The way you trigger that.
Granted, there's a package level on Gen 2.
Yeah. But for installs, you're getting everything. It doesn't matter what you set on there.
Merging, Vim, installing, Vim, merging.
Well, it's always nice to know that something is still alive.
Yeah.
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 Did it die on me? What do you mean it takes 15 minutes
Well, I'll
to
tell you,
stop this
when
program?
I'm building Chromium, I actually do tend to
Yeah.
open up another console and just, tail dash it,
Yeah,
build on
yeah.
log,
Yeah.
just to know that it's actually, I can hear the CPU fan running, but it's like 5 hours later.
Well, I have to.
I see the
Yeah.
process is running, but I don't know what it's doing.
I do that with LLVM when I build that. Many times I build it.
And I can watch the, the size of the build directory. Oh, we're up to 12 gigabytes. It's doing something. Then, 6 hours in, they'll die with some compiler error, internal errors. Out of memory killer got triggered.
Oh, we remember that.
I remember Dart.
Yeah.
I remember key punches.
I remember
Breakouts
having to get the
cache
kernel.
when you
pulled
reset.
off.
Yeah.
It doesn't take another 6 hours.
Mhm.
But I liked being able to boot from toggle switches. Total control.
You like
you carry
keeping those punch cards
do you
in?
carry some spare core RAM in your briefcase in case you gotta swap that out?
Yeah, we had to like compile,
No, man.
it, like,
He-
I
he-
started in
He
the morning,
wove
maybe by the
his
next
memory
morning.
with
Exactly,
threads,
yeah. I
or
remember
with
that.
wire and needle, right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't
And in
have-
case you do any
Build
debugging, you carry an extra, you carry a little bar magnet with you in case you need to flip a bitter.
And it was the same thing.
But
Just,
it-
you start the build and
it's
you go,
bit
okay,
level
Friday night,
control
just
of
let
the
this
system.
roll and
Yeah.
hopefully it doesn't crash or anything.
Just peeking and like, oh, let's make sure there's
I
no
think
errors.
I saw somebody doing a video on the Apollo 9 computer or something. You saw, they had like all the core memory, just
Yeah.
laying out on the table or whatever. And so these workers sitting there with this needle and
Yeah.
thread, and the thing had 5 different sense wires going through it this way and that way.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the most intricate layout.
So you said you were building Chrome, because I know Chromium OS, I forget how long that takes, but that's,
Well, I was just talking about the browser,
Yeah,
the
the browser
whole
itself.
OS. The rest of the OS, the browser is probably 95%
Yeah, it's probably
of it.
bigger.
yeah, I was about to say, I don't think, I was about to say, Chromium OS doesn't take much longer.
The G-Line
than,
C
I think,
and
what you're just saying.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest package
Yeah.
on the thing other than
I still haven't figured out how to turn where stuff on.
Chromium is just Chromium's become horrendous in terms
Yeah.
of build time. I mean, 16 cores and 16 gigs of RAM, and it's
Well, I haven't
8
been,
hours later.
I haven't been playing around with much machine intelligence stuff, so I figure every so often I just build Chromium OS on it just to give the box a workout.
And, and I'll tell you, Keith, we disable half
I'll
of
give
the
you a box.
third-party code in it too. Like the first,
Yeah.
if you look at our build script, the first thing it does is just RM this, RM that, with 50 directories, because we use system. Half of them we try to use system libraries,
Right,
so we're not
right.
even building FFmpeg and all that
Mhm,
stuff,
yeah.
or whatever. I think we still do have to build it because I think it has its own WebKit in there or whatever. Of course, because they
One of these that I
they had
cannot-
that patch their own APIs or whatever.
I cannot bend my brain around how they want you to turn on certain things. Like I still have I still can't figure out how I turn on a different network driver. It's just like the whole thing with how the Gen 2 systems, I don't understand it enough to, their instructions, you do the instructions, it still doesn't work. It's and I'm sure it's something I'm doing wrong, because it just gets so far in the weeds where if it was just a kernel script, you go in there, turn this, and that's it.
I imagine the thing builds in its own little
Yeah. well, you
chain
didn't
tree or
really
whatever.
build-
As long as you
yeah.
have
It
a
does,
tool,
yeah.
as long as you have a working tool chain, I would think it.
There's 2 ways to do
Because
it.
it shouldn't need network or anything like that. I would-
No, there's 2. They show you 2 on the website. They give you 2 ways to do it. And one is you can modify the kernel, the kernel configs directly. And I'm very familiar with building kernels. That's easy. But when I do that, what's happening is that it doesn't seem to get reflected back into the overall Chromium build script. And so there's something that I'm missing when it comes to that. And
Yeah,
the
I
problem
don't
is that you
know
don't
how
know
they're-
until it's run for 2 hours that, I'll be able to tell if it skips it at a certain point, but I either have to sit there for an hour and change, or I just have to.
Google
go
tends to
away.
have their own kind of weird tools for for build environments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that repo thing.
That repo thing is horrible.
No, it's making.
Make what is? Who needs man pages?
Man pages are kind of the crown jewel.
Yeah.
So how many
BSD
people
without
actually
what is.
run what is, like actually search?
Okay,
Search
installing
I'm
the-
sure they have a
everything
different
stuff.
view of what it should be, right?
So what you're seeing here is actually an update from source. And one of the other things that you guys
We
did
ripped
was,
off Etsy update from you guys too?
what's that?
We ripped off Etsy update from you
Yeah,
too?
probably.
It makes sense, it's like the biggest hack of a script I've ever seen.
Well, ETC update is actually it's a newer, it serves the same spirit and use case as Merge Master, which we still have in our,
Yeah, that never made it into Gen 2. Gen 2 comes with Etsy update. I think it also comes with this thing called Dispatch Config, which is like a newer version. And then there's other tools that'll do it, which honestly are much better.
yeah.
Because like Etsy update, I think uses sdiff or something like that. Like like the way it merges diffs. Pain in the butt. I mean,
Yeah, you have to, like-
it would be the best thing about it is it would probably work on a teletype machine. A console or whatever, if you have one of those.
So,
it doesn't use curses or anything, newfangled like that.
well, neither ETC update or Merge Master actually use curses. But both of them are, I believe, shell scripts at their very core. But the main operating difference, rather, for ETC update compared to Merge Master is that if you have conflicts that cannot be automatically resolved, ETC update it will show the status of all the files that were changed, including the ones that were conflicted, and you have to go back and run another ETC update command to actually start resolving them. Whereas in Merge Master, if they conflict, it will prompt you right then and there if you want to resolve, however you want to resolve it.
I think the Gen 2 Etsy update is interactive,
Yeah.
but it's not end curses, so it's going to be like, okay,
This one's not either.
chunk 1 of 384, left hour, right hour. Do you want the left version, the right version, or die, or whatever it is, and you got to try to, it's like editing a config file through a straw.
Okay, so it updated 2 files. Okay, and then the last thing for an update is that you want to. So when you actually do an install world, it's going to install. It's going to install files that probably should not have been installed because you specify them in your source.conf or something like that. But sometimes they slip through for whatever reason, or random empty directories as well. So what you want to do is just delete the old files.
O/D?
No, it's a delete old.
Okay.
So we need to pass in the batch delete old files make variable because otherwise it'll be interactive, saying like, do you want to delete this? Do you want to delete this? So we want to bypass that. And of course we need to specify the destination.
Yeah, it equals.
Yeah.
Oh, but use that for autocomplete.
Yeah.
Stop using ZSH.
This isn't ZSH. This is the 10x C
It's
shell.
not what?
Seashell.
Yay.
C shell is the
Wow.
default in FreeBSD.
Wow.
Yeah,
C-shell.
that's one of the reasons.
Wow. I think I'd be lost in that now.
At least use TC shell or something.
I'd really be lost
They're,
in
right,
TC
seriously.
shell.
they're the same binary. It's the same thing.
Is it really?
Oh, so does TC
Ah, okay.
shell.
Is that that's the
I haven't used
incarnation?
TC shell in like 20 years.
It's
That's
still
about
my
right.
default. I don't want to learn another shell.
You still use the default? Wow.
What are you using?
C shell and TC shell for interactive.
Okay.
Go, George, go.
And corn shell, isn't corn shell a C shell derivative? Or is that a bad?
I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was corn shell then C shell.
Yeah.
Right?
No, C shell was around before corn
Then
shell.
corn shell.
Isn't like corn shell like the Z shell for C shell?
The corn shell took some C shell ideas, but not. the
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I don't.
I think mostly it took the interactive bit.
When Paul did his talk on ZSH, he went through the whole lineage.
I like seashell.
But anyway, so now I just ran BECTL list again. Now you see that the new boot environment is still mounted in the temp, and you also see that its file space has increased from I don't know 8K to now 1.77 gigabytes. Which is obviously the delta between the current boot environment that we're in to the one that we just that we updated. And so now we just need to activate the new one. Well, first of all, we might want to unmount it so that so we don't keep messing with it.
What happens if you don't unmount it?
Nothing really.
Yeah, I would think it would probably.
Nothing would really happen. It's just that I just
When
need
you're
to unmount
rebooting,
it.
sure, it would go down.
So let's activate the new one. Successfully activated, and now we can reboot. Let's get out of here.
So if you did a list, it would show that with the N flag next to it? or-
Yep. In fact, let's do that now. Yep. So no, it will show with R. R means it will take it'll take effect on the next boot.
Oh, I see, okay. And the N is the current one?
Yep. So let's reboot. And also you'll see that it rebased. It rebased onto the new one because we activated it. So you see now the one that says R, the one that's activated, the file size is
Yeah,
now
16 now.
gigabytes. Whereas the other one's like, only 1.7 something. So we'll reboot.
Yeah, I'm no longer on floppy disks.
Those that don't miss.
No, not at all. I remember when 300 meg was a big deal on washing machines, I think.
First job, just to use those for some. We have some of that computer stuff, and we fix that from that,
Yeah.
Mostly mainframe stuff. What processor's in a Nook?
This one has a Celeron, but it does it does have the option of different ones. So there is an i7 one, there is an i5, there's an i3. Like I just happen to have the Celeron version. So if we look at the boot environment, now you see the new one.
1 of 8, suppose 1 of 7.
Yeah, something like that. We'll just boot multi-user. So one little tidbit of the init, since this is still a research unit in it, there's only multi-user and single-user mode for multi-user mode. So now you see that trying to mount root from 349150 there. It's a little quick for you, Keith. I know.
No, I just can't read that small font. I'll have to watch the video.
The font is tiny. It's tiny font. It's going to pump you up.
It's pretty good.
Thank
Are you in the
you.
movie? Doing his body double?
Is that?
Doing
Yeah,
stunts?
I was actually.
You got doodle stunts?
Yeah. I did all the stunts.
Did you really?
Yeah. You'd be surprised, man. He's kind of a wuss.
You okay? I'm gonna get this video out to California right away.
You do that.
Shall we go out to California so you can say that to his face?
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah, sure. You got it, man. I'll take care of it for you.
Gonna pump you out.
He's gonna pump me up, all right.
No, he's gonna get to the chopper and come over here.
To the chopper.
Hear me now and believe me later.
Okay, cool. We're booted now. So
All right, great.
We're booted
So
in
we
the
showed
we're booted
you
in a new environment.
picture of my wife.
Now, if we look at the list, it's just now it's activated, and if we reboot again, it will still be on this one because we haven't changed it.
And this is the kernel, and this is the system you just built. This
Yeah.
was the one that was,
The
or just
one I just
installed.
installed, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, that's really it. I mean, if I want to delete, other boot environments because we're not using them, I can. I just don't feel like doing it now.
So then the purpose that, so basically you're able to snapshot your system. You always have a fault, you have multiple points you can go back to.
Yeah.
You can play around with things, do whatever. From a quote unquote hacking point of view, if you need to go back to something if someone doesn't know about boot environments, you have some sort of regression point there as well, right? And you
Yeah.
said you can move these around too.
Yeah, you can copy them to different machines.
Right.
You know, just if you want to do like a mass deployment, easily done with just basic ZFS tooling.
Right.
With your basic ZFS send and receive.
So you could actually, you could cross-compile, like you could actually build your ARM system, like start with like a boot environment and compile it for ARM as a boot environment and then ship that over.
Yeah, like what you have to do is just you have to create a new pool on a different disk, or on a different disk, whether it's an SD card or some other SSD or whatever. You know, create a new pool on there. You know, do your cross compiling elsewhere, and then just to make sure you install it in that pool, and then export it because you don't want to be running it on this
Right, it won't
machine.
be run.
And that, but just make sure you have all the so this is not boot environment. So this is just the stuff I just showed you here. This is just the part after you've gotten past the BIOS or U-boot or whatever. In order to even get to this loader, you have to just make sure that your UEFI or your BIOS or your U-boot's up to stuff there. So you have to make sure that's aware of where the loader is going to be, because it is ZFS. It's not your Unix file system or FAT.
Okay. But ZFS runs on the other processors? There's no problems with that?
No problems.
Okay.
No problems. It's just that you just have to make sure that for your initial, cold boot from in your BIOS or your EFI or your U-boot, is that you can get here from there. So in this case, what I've got, so if I just run mount, you see all the ZFS stuff, but if you look at the, I don't know where I have it. Well, actually, there's a better way to show it. G part, which is the partition viewer. I think this is 80. Right. So this is the disk. This is a single disk Z pool. And 88.0, that's the hard drive that's in here. And so if you look at partition 1, that's the EFI system partition, and that's where a copy of boot/loader.efi is in, but it's under a different name. It's under EFI/boot/bootx64.efi because that's what the standard says. And so as long as the EFI BIOS finds that file, like boot x64 or boot ARM or boot AA64, depending on the architecture, as long as they can execute that will actually be able to figure out if there's a ZFS anywhere, if there's a ZPool anywhere, or really any semblance of a loader, of a boot directory. And so it's really from there that you get to that FreeBSD loader where you can see boot multi-user, boot single user, select the kernel, select boot environment, things like that.
Okay.
So you just have to make sure that that's squared away in order to get here. And then for multi-disk pools is kind of the same thing. You just have to kind of replicate. You just have to replicate this layout. But then when you actually do your Z-pool setup, obviously you want to do mirror or RAID Z1, Z2, whatever. You just have to make sure. But the only thing that has to stay constant is this partition layout. Any other questions?
So why do you keep calling it Z instead of Z? Is it developed by
Canadian. He's trying to be Canadian.
I'm not trying to be Canadian.
I know, it sounds weird.
Sounds better.
It actually does sound.
Coming soon,
common-
Zedpool the movie.
Look.
Canadian brand.
Well, I'm just curious, that's all.
Look, at least we're not calling it Zulu pool, okay? Not everyone's ham radio.
Z-Pool?
Yeah.
Z-Pool. Z-Pool is...
No, it's our pool.
time?
Will be. Welcome to our rule. Notice there's no peanut. Let's keep it that way.
Any other questions?
If I ask questions now, I mean, you know, it's too late. So.
Not really.
You said this was a newer, how long has this been around? You said
So-
this is newer, you were saying?
So BECTL, which is the C implementation of it,
Mhm.
has only been around since FreeBSD 12, which is the current version. I'm running obviously FreeBSD current, which is 13.
That's actually not obvious to me. So, or probably to other people, so why don't you show us, was it, it's like, do you have a uname -a sort of thing going on there? Okay. So now it's obvious to me.
Yeah. So like
Also,
if
you're
I
running
so
13.
if I actually built this from Subversion or Git, it'll actually show you which revision it is as
Mhm.
well. But it doesn't show it here because I built it from Mercurial.
Okay.
That can be fixed easily, but I don't think. But just we've been lazy with that stuff because it's not important.
So you said BE control's only been around since 12.
Since 12, but BADM you can use on earlier version because that's entirely burn shell.
Gotcha.
As long so all BADM really needs is as long as there's a fully working ZFS or ZFS user land utilities, it works.
Okay.
And then this obviously BCTL and such or libBE is its own C library,
Mhm.
and that does things a little bit differently, but on the outside it's the same.
It's all the same functionality.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Yeah.
new.
Even there's actually another presentation that some guy who went to a Polish BSD user group, he did a presentation on pretty much exactly this, but he did it with BADM. But the syntax is exactly the same. Just literally change BADM to BCTL and it's the same.
Oh, that's cool. This functionality, this is a core functionality of ZFS. It's not a new functionality in ZFS.
It's
That's-
new. It's new. It's just it's not part of ZFS per se, but it uses ZFS abilities.
Oh, okay.
I like that you're messing with boot partitions and not using DD.
I was using DD.
All right, any more questions? Time for beer now, I guess.
Beer man.
All right.